Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hello, everyone. It's always so good to see you here. And of course, hop in the chat. We love hearing from you and getting your questions and comments. And to reiterate, welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we're broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. So yes, pop in one of the various chat rooms. We would love to connect with you. We definitely would. So good evening. And I want to ask you this question before we get started. I want you to look around right now and ask yourself, do you trust everything you see? What if the shadows in the corners of your eye weren't just tricks of light, but glimpses of another reality? Tonight, we're going to step past the veil of our everyday world to explore the most unsettling mysteries of existence. And they are shadow people, portals, our energy fields, because that's kind of all connected, as well as interdimensional beings. And our guest has spent years mapping the invisible landscapes of our reality, believing that our personal energy field is not only a shield, but a beacon that non-physical entities can sense. She researches how specific locations act as portals, functioning as literal doorways between dimensions and allowing beings whose existence defies our physical laws, the interdimensional beings, to interact with our world. So with that said, I want to welcome Michelle Desrochers.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. It's always a blessing to have you with us.
Aw, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here. So,
Thank you.
You're
So I thought
welcome.
for spooky season, this would be a good topic.
Oh, it is. It's a great topic. It's so hard to lump everything in together, because there
Yeah.
is just so much, but everything's connected. Everything is
Yes,
connected.
absolutely. And it's funny because I was talking to my son before and he asked me what the topic was today, and he's not into any of this at all.
Mm.
He's pure science guy, And he said, "What the hell are shadow people?" So I had to think about that. And I'm like, how can I answer him? And give him a cogent answer. And I looked it up and made sure I had the definitions of what they are. But I thought
Yeah.
we might start there, Michelle, and maybe you can. Oh, let's say hello to some folks. Oh my goodness. Heidi, much love. Sherry, hi. Who else do we have? Allison, hi. And Annette, big hello. Carrie, hello. And Mort, always a pleasure. So yeah, pop
Us
in, guys.
girl.
We love your
Yeah.
questions and comments. So yeah, I want to get started with shadow people because that's such an enigma to me in so many ways. And I've heard so many stories, of people seeing them out of the corner of their eyes, darting around their homes. Like, are these nefarious beings? What's your take on the whole thing?
Shadow people to me are a bit of an enigma. There are researchers who have extensively researched them because there's so many different theories. Some people believe they're time travelers.
Yeah.
I know that we had them at the manor house, and one was not even. They're always not always dark. Like people think that these dark. You think of a shadow, you think of a dark space, but some of these were actually more white. And they
Oh.
were just by definition, they look like a shadow, but they just weren't
Mm.
really, really like dark. And they darted around and did the same thing. So, it sort of lends to that whole theory that no, maybe again, it goes against the whole cliche, pardon me. I dare to have latte beforehand. I was rebelling. I know.
Always coffee.
Burger, yeah. Might have to get into something stronger if this keeps up. But, but, in the paranormal, it's interesting because I have worked throughout, the last couple of decades, with families who have had a lot of, things going on in the house, and
Yeah,
I work primarily, on more malevolent, situations, and shadow people were always, I mean, always
yeah,
there to be had amongst everything else going on. That can be quite, concerning. I mean, they can cause a lot of problems, especially when you're getting into the Hat Man. That seems to be the famous one, shadow with a hat, and, they have some that are, different types of hats, like a flat top, like sort of like a cowboy hat sort of thing. You've got some that have bowler hats. It's crazy what they have out there. Sometimes it's nothing more than just this dark mist moving around, and
mm,
it has a bit of a form, like it's partially forming. I've seen videos of those given to me by people and families that I've worked with. But it's interesting because they seem to fall into um I mean, you'll see them with malevolent energies, you will, and they seem to just fall into that, and they cause a lot of grief, and
yeah,
because they're so quick, they're the type of beings that will hide. Some people say, well, you should declutter if you're having things because you have energies that can hide in all of the clutter. And they don't
oh,
realize that when people are under a state of oppression, sometimes they take away that drive to want to tidy things up. And because that puts you in a better headspace. And so you
yeah,
don't, they take away a lot of the drive to do things for yourself. And it could very well be, as one of the theories are, that things like to hide in there, and shadow people are known to do that. People have reported to me, no, I've seen it's like a shadow coming out of this corner. And you look at, the corner, it's like, well, it's a good place to hide out. So there's a lot with them. There's just,
it really is. Like, I don't understand the hat thing. Like, why most of them that I've seen and read about
mhm.
wear this like wide brimmed hat or some type of hat, even a cloak. I've heard of them wearing, and they have either bright red eyes. Like, what do you think they are? Are they just malevolent like demons? Are they demonic? Or I mean, you said you saw white ones, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Some I mean, there's some people believe that they could be demonic. Some people, they've been called guardians or demonic guardians.
Yeah,
It's just like, there's a lot of different theories with them. Are they ghosts or some kind of entity? Are they a time traveler? Is it a dimensional thing where they're
right.
coming in and out? Why do they have hats on? Why? I mean, there have been some that have been reported where it looks like they're holding something, like,
Oh,
like a weapon, or like they're holding something, you just can't quite make it out.
mm,
So I don't know. Like, this is something that, to me, I have been told on, I would say probably 70% of the people that I have worked with, um, who have had other malevolent things going on, and what they felt threatened in their own space, have reported shadow people. And it comes into also where you can fall into sleep paralysis. And sleep paralysis in the paranormal world tends to be something related to the hag, the old hag that
mm,
pushes down on the
mhm.
chest, you
Yeah.
know. And then people report the same thing, um, who have had, they're having extraterrestrial encounters or abductions. They feel like the sleep paralysis, they cannot move. And the same thing, there's logical reasons for it. And then there seems to be this type of thing that goes on when shadow people are around as well. So, it's really
Goodness.
hard to say. People encounter them when they have out of body experiences. There's also, theory, people who do shadow work, will tell you that, oh, it's like a shadow self. Shadow work, I mean,
Oh,
it's, yeah, I mean, it's just, you have to do shadow work. If you do light work, you have that balance. And I
mhm.
think it makes me a better energy worker to know both, so
Yeah, that makes
there's
sense.
yeah, but there are people. One concept that I always found interesting, was, an incredible paranormal researcher. She's deceased now, fortunately. It was Rosemary Ellen, Gilly. and she was one of the leading she was considered to be a leading expert in the paranormal, and she did work. I think she wrote a book, in fact, on shadow people, and she basically categorized them, as the jinn.
Oh,
I know. We people will
I
know
never
jinn
made that
as
connection.
genies, right? But yeah,
Yeah,
jinn.
yeah. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have made that connection. Two
Yeah.
interesting comments. Carrie said that I just posted that she saw a hat man in her bedroom years ago. I'd love to hear
Mm.
more details about that. And then Wayne said, imagine if back in the 40s there was actually the ability to time travel. It might explain the shadow people looking the way they do, long trench coats and brim. I mean, that makes so much, and brimmed hats for people that are listening. That
Mhm.
makes so much sense.
Well, some of them do look like they're wearing these
Yeah,
coats and
yeah.
such. How do we know we're just not getting a mirror image, you
Mm.
know, a dimensional mirror image? But what's interesting is, Rosemary also believed that people who were experiencing, shadow beings were also ET experiencers, but she basically said they were shape shifted from and taken from the jinn. So there's this big, she felt a very profound connection between the jinn and bad
Mhm.
hauntings, as well
Yeah,
as ET abductions. So,
yeah, yeah. You're spot on. I'm just looking through my notes, and some of the theories are they could be interdimensional beings,
mm,
spirits or ghosts, jinn,
mhm,
exactly what you said.
yeah,
And there's also a psychological, physiological aspect to it, and then astral bodies
mm,
that it could be maybe out of body experiences. Do you think that when people are having OBBs that they could just be traveling to
yeah.
people's homes that they know or familiar with or
Yeah, yeah, I do think so. I just feel that when you are out into the astral realm, that there are a lot of different beings that you're going to encounter, and, shadow beings aren't going to be any different. I mean, there's a really strong belief that they could also just be another race of different beings that are out there, which is why they just sort of pop out here and
Mm,
there. Like, the ones that were at the manor, tended to be like even the ones that were not, um, like black, that they leaned more to be on the anywhere from the white to gray, tan, somewhere in the middle, like they were a lighter in color. But I mean, there wasn't any degree of mischief that
mm.
came with them. Not that there weren't some through the years that have come in and acted up, I mean, some people even tell you that they've heard mimicking and things like that coming from them.
Oh, that
Um,
scares me. They mimic your voice exactly.
yeah,
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 that's crazy.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and it's also interesting too how when you're in a dark room and they appear, they're described as blacker than black, like darker than the dark, which I think
Dark
is so
entities in
interesting.
general can do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Wayne
Yeah.
Wayne had a ridiculous experience at the manor, and that the term "darker than dark." I mean, he saw that firsthand with an entity with red
Mm.
eyes. It looked like a shadow
Oh
being,
my
but it was
goodness.
massive, like just massive. He described the eyes as being like the size of a melon, each eye. You know
What?
what I mean? Like, yeah, just and it had like a slit, because when he looked up, he goes like he's up near the crown molding. It's just something he tells the story so much better. He's told it on my show like several times, and and then when it blinked, he could see like the slit, and he realized, shoot, that's an eye. But the rest, it was just like this dark form.
Oh,
Yeah,
awful. I
yeah.
don't know. They creep me out. Did you ever hear of the Vic Tandy story? There was a guy back in 1998. He was an engineer named Vic Tandy, and
Mm,
he was working alone in a factory that was known for hauntings. And he experienced a cold feeling, and he saw a gray, indistinct figure in his peripheral, which is where they say a lot of them are seen darting and jetting
mm,
around in your peripheral. He
mm,
later discovered that the faulty equipment in the factory was generating a powerful standing wave of infrasound, which was below 20 hertz, and that's inaudible to humans.
Mm.
And he theorized that vibrations could cause visual distortions, making objects appear to move or form these shadowy shapes, and even physical sensations of dread, stuff like that. I mean, when I read that, I was like, that's trippy. I mean, it's possible. He was a scientist and kind of came to that conclusion.
Well, I can tell you this. First off, as you know, because you and I have done multiple shows on Beyond the Outer Realm about things,
Yes.
things with patents especially, but,
Yes.
we know that different levels of vibration and, frequency that's projected out, even like microwaves, I mean, there's all kinds of things that can affect our nervous
Yes.
system. Now they have stuff that can affect the brain, the thought pattern, I mean, everything. I can tell you that when I used to do in-home investigations initially, um, I would come in and we would check for high levels of EMF.
Mm,
Okay, so if you had like something, just put that up against, the electrical panel and see where it's going to go. Well, there are other things within the environment that can do the same thing, even outside. But high levels of EMF will make you hallucinate.
absolutely. Yeah.
It will, you
Yeah. That's
know.
a scientific fact. Yeah.
Yeah. We would even check for carbon monoxide leaks, things like that, anything that could
Mm,
make you hallucinate. There are different things that can make us react. If you're under a whole lot of stress, that's going to make you react also,
yeah.
you
So
know.
you're debunking all this stuff first before you're doing, the real groundwork, right?
Well, you have to. You
Yeah.
have to look at everything. You have to ask those hard questions. Are you on medications? Do you have a history of mental health? It's not to be mean. It's because sometimes your brain just works differently. I've had families approach me throughout the decades, literally, with family members, let's say with autism, with
Oh,
Down syndrome, and they're just gifted, gifted, gifted.
yeah.
These people are very, very gifted. Just everything is just different. So you need to try to work with how that all works because they're tapped right in. It's almost like an insta tap that just doesn't shut off. And they're usually they have so much light about them that it just attracts things to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like women going through menopause. It's like children
Oh,
going
yeah.
through puberty. It's a
Yeah.
vibe that we let off, this energy that we let off. We're emotional creatures, especially
Oh,
women.
God.
Boy,
Oh,
we could psychokinesis like nobody's business.
that's right.
Besides
Totally
that.
true. And
Yeah.
to your point, Carrie continued, I saw the Hat Man while falling asleep to a dream state, and and I knew nothing of the Hat Man reference of this before. This was in the time when I was doing shadow work. That's exactly what you just
Mhm.
got finished saying.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I worked with a family whose mother had been tormented by a shadow hat man for decades.
Oh my goodness.
And the whole family eventually became affected by it. Other things also were very, very present, and it affected the whole dynamics of this family and how things went. But I mean, it was not uncommon for her even just to come home from work and look up on it got to the point where it's so brazen, like in the middle of the day, it didn't really matter. And it would just sit there and lean up against the post, of the front door, like it would have pillars going up into a porch area. And it just leaned there and it would just watch her and it had this overcoat sort of thing. And it always sent to make you realize, like, is this the spirit?
Mm.
Like, what is the interest? I mean, there are like, you want a show just on shadows, I can definitely refer you, to
Oh
people
my
who talk just
goodness.
about that, who are just really,
Yeah. Oh, I'm
so
sure.
not everybody finds them threatening. Not everybody has concerns about them. So I don't know. There's a
Oh
lot of information
goodness.
there.
Yeah. KP just said that happened to my ex-husband. He was plagued with the shadow entities and he took his own life. I'm
I'm
convinced it was
sorry.
fed off him. Yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
difficult.
could see. Yeah. Do you think you can For folks that don't see them, do you think you can, because I've had experiences where I sensed them
Mhm.
more than saw them. Do you think that's possible, or is that something absolutely different?
I think if you don't see what's there, you're just, you're sensing something. You know something is off within your energy
Right.
field or within your space, because we're pretty accustomed to what our spaces feel like or should feel
Yes,
like. And when something comes
exactly.
into the mix, we're most people are pretty, even if you don't consider yourself to be intuitive, it's that the butterflies in the stomach, the hair on the back of your neck, you just kind of go like, oh, something doesn't feel right. So you can
Exactly.
speculate as to what that is, like if there's a human spirit, if you're not, clairvoyant, you might kind of go, you can only take a guess unless they manifest. For me, because I don't want to say for everybody, because everybody's different, but for me, um, like I would have to see out of the corner of your eye. They move so quick sometimes, and sometimes
Yeah,
that's as good as you're going to get. Other times, people will get them on visuals, like especially now. There's like CCTV cams everywhere. People have got,
yes.
their doorbell cams. There's so much. They're catching all kinds of things, and these things are quick. But the cameras can sometimes catch a bit of a glimpse, and you just see them lurking around, moving around. The pets see them,
Oh, guaranteed.
and they
And
can
it
be
freaks me
noisy.
out when, yeah, when, like, my dog will bark at nothing and no one there, and he's, like, staring into a spot or something. But it's trippy when, like, I get it a lot when I'm going upstairs. And,
Mm,
you're exactly right, how you know what your
mm,
environment feels like, how it
mm,
should feel. And
mhm,
when something enters it, you feel that immediately, and you know it. And you know it's not in your head,
mhm.
because it just pops in. It's the I can't even describe, you
Yeah,
know exactly what I'm saying.
I do.
And I'll have to stop, because I used to run up the stairs and be afraid of it. And now I just, when it does happen, I just stop, and I turn around and I talk to it, and I go like, "Why are you following me up the stairs? Like,
Mhm.
gotta stop doing that."
Yeah.
So,
It's like,
you know
"Okay, that's enough." Yeah, that's enough.
exactly. I had enough of
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
it does work. It
Yeah.
absolutely does work.
Yeah.
Weird.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, hold your
Yeah.
ground. It's important to
Yes.
hold your ground.
Gosh, we're getting so many good comments here. Stargazer. Everyone has a godly human living on Earth, has a power over the entity. All you have to do is use power of your thoughts to dissolve. Yeah, I agree with that one.
Yeah, and, one thing, one of my guests, from Beyond the Outer Realm this past, week, Ira, Wolfenson said, "You don't consent.
Yeah,
Even if you say it telepathically, I don't consent. Go."
yeah. Do you think these shadow beings can infiltrate your thoughts too, and like feed your mind with negative, awful thoughts as well? Because I've
100%.
heard of that happening, right, to people.
100%. Yep, I
Oh
see it
my
all the time.
goodness.
It's not hard, they're telepathic. So it's not hard for them to project, thought. This happens all the time. It's like oppression. Many people will basically just say, like, I don't know where those thoughts came from.
Exactly. Do you think
So,
they could be attached to properties too? Not only homes, but just the property in and of itself?
oh my gosh, the stories I can tell you just about haunted land and things like that. If you're looking at, for example, let's talk about farms. You know,
Mm,
life was very hard back in the day, and your land is all you had. The land is what sustained you.
sure,
You were, chances are, your children would have been born on the land, or you may have been born on the land. You had your crops, you had your livestock. Most of the time, you had to chop wood, chop trees down on your land. You would have light, you would have, a fireplace, you couldn't just flip a switch way back then. You'd have lard, for candle making or
sure.
beeswax or things like that. Like there were ways,
Cooking,
oils,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
point I'm making is life was hard. And if you died on the land, you were probably buried on the land. I've seen that tons of times on old farms,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
family cemetery, and a lot of times the cemeteries will get relocated if they're lucky. Sometimes they
Mhm.
get built right over and roads go over them. Um, so you have these spirits who are still very attached to their land. Because sometimes a family just sells them. Everybody dies. They're not gonna farm anymore, and sadly,
Exactly.
it's a
Yeah.
dying profession in many, many places, many, parts of the world, and that's it. And you have a spirit who's just like, "No, I'm not giving up the land." And sometimes they'll put in a whole subdivision over top of all these hundreds of acres, and it makes it really hard. I've worked on many families who have had issues because of the land they were on. Now, if you're on an old indigenous burial ground, or you are a site where maybe there were battles, there you're going to end up still having these problems. I know people who just got into a new house with battle not far away, and the little person sees all kinds of things coming in from, and you're talking away maybe like a mile away, 2 miles away, maybe more,
Mhm.
and they're still seeing the effects of that. It's
Jeez.
tainted. Blood on the
Yes.
land,
Right.
or hardship or hard work, like many, they stay back for many reasons, but most certainly, can malevolent things attach? Oh, sure, they can attach whatever they want to.
Yeah. Stargazing made a good point, and I've spoken to a lot of, like, psychics that say they want nothing to do with anything dark or malevolent.
Mhm.
So, he said, "The more you're speaking about negative energy, the more you're feeding them with life energy. Stop talking about them. Talk about higher life, and they will disappear." What camp
Yes.
are you from, right? Are you from that school of
Ye
thought, do you think?
Yeah, I'll tell you something, like, first off, they feed on fear. A lot of
Mhm.
families I have worked with, have found that fear and anger, they keep the dynamics very divided, a lot of arguing, a lot of pain,
Right.
a lot of upset and stress, because that's food. So changing the mindset. I'll often say, ground your energy and raise the vibration. Whether you're listening to binaural beats or listening to really good music, watching a funny
Mm,
movie, having game night with your family, just open some windows, go hug a tree, do some dancing while you're vacuuming. Just raise the vibration, because you're starving them. They can't survive in it.
jeez. That makes so much sense. I
I've s
mean,
I've seen it
even
firsthand. I've worked with, like
oh,
hundreds and
I'm sure.
hundreds of people, like, through the
Yeah,
years, thousands, and,
yeah,
like, it works.
yeah. Do you think, like, tuning forks and bells and things like that helped you change the level of energy? Yeah,
I have them around all the time,
yeah,
and I have tons of bells, I still need, like, the pièce de résistance, being, like, a big old bronze church bell, but
yeah.
yes, I have the gong, I have chimes, I have many, many different type of, um, these
Tools.
guys, and,
Yeah,
well, they're
yeah,
great. I mean, it's
yeah.
it's
You know, and I
j
think yeah,
they're
I love
wonderful.
that sound. Yeah, it is, it's wonderful. Um, the connection between sleep paralysis, though, and like you said, the entity sitting on your chest. And now I've read so many theories that it's not really anything paranormal, that
Mhm.
it's more biological. We've all heard the different opinions about
Yeah.
what's out there, but I've also heard of it happening to people that know nothing about the paranormal, never talk about these things, and all of a sudden one night, they're seeing shadow people and having this sleep paralysis happen to them. So, I don't know, I don't think I mean, I know talking about it feeds it, definitely, but I think that we're, as humans, are just open to, like, whatever wants to come at times, whether, we want it or not, right?
I can
It
give you different
happens anyway.
examples.
Yeah,
I can give you different examples. First off, we don't know what's in the lineage. We don't know if have our ancestors brought something onto the lineage.
yeah.
You know? So is there some sort of ancestral karma there? Is there something guilty by association? What I mean by that is you come and you meet people every single day of your life. Most
Yeah,
people are going to meet somebody else, or they're going to end up in a different space. You don't know that something just didn't latch onto your energy because there's something about you that they liked. Was it
exactly.
because, yeah, easy to attach to? Were you grieving? Were you just upset? Were you just having a bad
Mhm.
day? Were you angry? Or were you just this very enlightened individual? Were you a challenge? I mean, there's no real rhyme or reason for why things come in. I've seen families move into brand new homes and end up in
Yeah,
some really bad situations. And a little bit of education and looking at life with a more positive outlook. Most people
mhm,
can fix their own problems. They don't necessarily need a researcher to come in and do anything. Sometimes they just need somebody to listen to them and to just
mm,
give them a little bit of
true.
advice within that realm. But sometimes there is no rhyme or reason why they come in. I had somebody send me a recording one time, and they said, "We don't just want you to know we don't have anything going on here in the house, but we found this on our answering machine." It was a crazy, deep, growly sort of thing, and they're like, "We just wanted to share it with you because, feel free to use it and do what you want. We haven't had a problem since. This was probably about a month ago." It was just
Ooh,
some random, ridiculous, and it was an old, like, tape machine, you know what I mean? And that was it. They never had another problem after that, so I don't know, what was that?
exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, things like that do happen. Do you ever have any trepidations about playing them and listening to those types of things, to recordings or EVPs? Like,
Yeah, there are theories about that.
yeah,
Again, if you play something out loud and it's growling at you
right.
and doing some hissing, it bleeds out into the atmosphere. This is why some people get really finicky, even watching certain horror movies. I think this bleeds
Yes.
out into the atmosphere. I always would use headphones because those are primarily the type of situations I would work with. I've
Oh,
got
good
hours of
idea.
things growling at me, calling me every name in the book,
Mhm.
hours. I mean, hundreds of hours, probably 300 hours of things just with that sort of potty mouth mentality. And you just don't let it bleed through. And I've heard from other researchers who have done the opposite, that all of a sudden they felt like they had something within their space. In
Yeah.
fact, some people believe that, in researchers, that some of the best equipment that you can use for EVPs are the old cassette tapes, but
Yeah, I keep
it can s-
mine.
it could still bleed onto the other side of the tape, so
Good.
you only ever use one side, like old school thinking.
Yeah. I love Wayne's comment. He's so hysterical. He said, "So if you're having dark thoughts, the dark entities are drawn to you. If you're having positive outlook, the dark things target you, so you're jammed either way."
Yeah,
It
it's
might
true.
seem that way.
Yeah, it's a good possibility, absolutely.
Yeah, life seems
It
that
is a
way.
thing. It is a thing. And, and I've heard a lot of people say to me over the years, when something comes in, it's just like exactly that. Danged
Mm,
if you do and danged if you don't.
exactly.
And it's amazing how things listen. And let's look at people as kids, who go out and play with the Ouija board. I always say, all kids like to have the seance or play with the Ouija board. I won't say
Sure.
all, but many.
A
I
lot.
grew up.
Yeah.
I knew so many people who had, and then I had an aunt who came over and did it at our place, and then all hell breaks loose. This is like, oh, for Pete's sake, I'm the cool aunt. Let's just stir crap up. Okay,
Right, right.
that was good. Thanks for that. But they think because nothing happens right away, or maybe they were in another room, while a group were in another room having this whole seance, that they're in the clear. But then I've had people say, "Oh my God," like 20 years later, but I wonder why things are always wrong in my life. Nothing good ever happens. Like,
Yeah,
well, they're not bound by time or space.
exactly. So if
And
if
you know,
you're sleeping at night though, and you get this paralysis and you feel, some people even feel their hands being pinned down. That can't be, and those types of examples to me are not sleep paralysis. They're some
like
kind of force,
succubus or incubus.
something. Yeah.
Um, yeah, during ET abductions, or again, um, infestations, people who I have worked with, and again, I reference people. I don't like to say cases, and I just find it so insensitive. But people I've worked with who have been in those situations where they are pinned down and they're attacked while their spouse is put into a deep sleep right beside them. You
Yeah.
never see it happening, never anything. I personally have had sleep paralysis. And, it was after I had worked, with a family who it was a pretty aggressive situation,
Oh,
and that
goodness.
night, I end up waking up, and I'm looking around, and I can't move, and I
Mhm.
know what's happening to me. The timing I found interesting because there's a lot of logical reasons for it, as well. And of course, knowing now that I was also an experiencer, but I didn't see any extraterrestrials. I'm thinking, all right. But you feel like that presence, that there's that heavy presence, and you feel this weight on your chest. You can't move. And I'm just like, I can't move. And I'm aware. We had a projection clock on the ceiling so I could see what time it was. And it was probably, going on about 40, 50 seconds at that point. And I just in
Just
my
forever.
head, oh yeah, it
Yeah.
seems like forever, but in my head, I'm going, there's not enough room here for the two of us, and I promise you I'm not the one leaving. So I willed myself, because they say if you move even so much as a little finger, you can break it. I willed myself to move my baby finger, and then I was able to bring myself out of it.
Yeah.
But it's spooky for sure. It's because you feel vulnerable in your
Yes.
space, where you're asleep. It's the one place where you're not supposed to feel vulnerable.
Right.
And it's
Well, they say the
happened to me
veil is
twice.
oh my goodness. They say when you're sleeping, though, that the veil is the thinnest. So that's how your astral body travels. And maybe they know this, these entities, and that's when they come in for the attack. What did you do after it happened to you two times? Like, did you do energy work? Like, what'd you do for
Oh,
yourself?
for sure. I just
Yeah.
cleared the house.
Yeah.
I working with the type of entities, or families, who had certain types of entities, that they're going to come around. Sometimes they do before you even step foot in the location. Like, they
Goodness.
know. They do.
Oh, I mean, Wayne here says I was pinned down in my bed and couldn't breathe.
Yep.
And that's the scary part, taking the breath away. It took
Yeah.
everything for me to get loose from that situation. And I was wide awake. And I think
Mhm.
Carrie also had an experience. It seems like a lot of people, this happens to a
Mhm.
lot of people.
I'll tell you something, there was a scientist who was researching, sleep paralysis, and I don't have my notes in front of me to give you his name and everything else, but he experimented, and he went into a state of sleep paralysis. It happened to him, one night, and it was in Canada, and it terrified him. He said,
Oh, goodness.
I felt with everything that I was. Everything within me told me that I was not alone in my space, because it was
Yeah,
most terrifying experience I had ever been through. And that's logical thinking. And he
exactly.
goes, I could not find logic. Like, it was like I felt like I was not alone.
Well, that goes back to your point before that you know your own environment and
Yeah,
how it
maybe.
feels on the daily. So when something
Mhm.
steps into that or
Yeah.
breaches that,
And it can happen at any
horrifying.
time. The
Yeah.
second one I had, I was laying down, and it was probably about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm just going to lay down for a minute. Um, just having a day. It's like, I'm just gonna lie down, clear my mind, try to see if I can get into a little bit of a meditation state. And it happened,
Mm,
you know. And that time I was somewhat half lying on my side on my stomach. And I had been researching very heavily about a family who I was helping. And it happened again. And I just that's it. At that point, I was really mad because we're only talking a month difference, in time
wow.
between both experiences. And again,
Which is
brought
too
myself
close
out of
for
it.
comfort. Yeah.
Yeah, way too close for comfort. Way too close. Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely live without that experience. And to your point before about the gin, there was a paranormal researcher named Rosemary Ellen Gulley. I'm
That's right.
probably
That's
pronouncing.
that's what I was talking about.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
She's the one that documented that it was. I don't
yeah.
know too much about her, just other
She
than what I've
passed
read.
away. Yeah, she passed away from cancer. She's lovely, very, very gifted. She wrote a book on shadow beings. You
How did
guys could
she? I
find it.
wonder how she came to that conclusion. I have to get that book now and read it because
Yeah,
how did
yeah.
she come to that conclusion that it was the gin? Do you
I
know? Like,
I I don't I've never actually read like I've never actually read the book. I didn't know
yeah.
she's written other books. And she was very well respected within the paranormal field. And she just, again, unfortunately, I believe she passed from cancer. And
Mm,
she's just written many books. So,
yeah.
I know people who knew her personally who just had so much respect for her. But I would recommend reading anything that she wrote.
Yeah,
She's
I'm
very
definitely.
well researched and very well respected.
Now, would you classify shadow people as interdimensional beings?
I don't know what I would classify them as, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just don't know. There's just such a mixed bag of information when it comes to them. Imagine if you spoke with somebody who's like versed just on that,
Yeah.
who's done the research, doing the deep dive, as I say, you probably, get better answers to that question. I myself know tons of people. I mean, tons of people who have had encounters with them. I myself have seen them. I it's just it almost seems cliche, but they just seem to pop up everywhere. And like I said, 70% at least of the families I've worked with have experienced them.
That's a lot.
And 50% of the families I've worked with have also had ET. They were ET experiencers or have had ET on site as well. So
Oh,
when you start mixing it all, see how everything
mm,
connects? What
yes.
is the actual connection of all of it?
Yeah. Yeah, and the more I read about this stuff too, you could even bring like Bigfoot into the mix in
Absolutely.
terms of yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Everything is connected.
I don't know. I hope someday we get to figure it all out.
Half the fun's looking.
Yeah,
But
half the
the
fun is looking and asking the questions, right? Asking the
yeah.
question.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, when that all comes to an end, I mean what's left?
yeah,
So they everything is connected. People who see orbs, you see those everywhere. You see them in hauntings around spirits, you see them around cryptids, you see them around UFOs and extraterrestrials. It's something that seems to be everywhere. It's a phenomenon that is, very widely researched. A lot of people will sort of poo-poo it, and other people it's like, no, there's something to it.
yeah.
So,
I mean, Heidi mentioned she asked her doctor about her experience, which I missed above, Heidi. I guess you had a sleep paralysis experience and he didn't, of course, have an answer. You said you moved and he didn't have an answer. So
mhm,
you mean you physically moved from house to house?
mhm,
I'd like to hear more about that, but and I've even heard of stories where people are seeing shadow beings, having sleep paralysis. They move, they pack up their family, and this crap follows them right to the new dwelling,
mhm.
which is sketchy too. I mean, so it's definitely attached to someone, not so much
Well,
the
if
property itself.
if you yeah, if you there are such a thing as what folks might call haunted people. People with
Oh yeah.
attachments, obviously, whether it's a spirit attachment, maybe you bought a haunted item, even a where is haunted, like I love doing estate sales and I love like auctions
Mm,
and buying obscure things
yeah.
and I've had people give me haunted objects, and but they're not like that for everybody. Behind me, I've got a skull behind me.
Is
If
that
you
real? That's a real one.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
I might have been to that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, he's called a phantom skull, like he
A
was,
phantom.
yeah, he came out of university in, Germany, probably going back, the last 60 years or so,
Yeah.
and I family I worked with are like, tons of activity around this thing. And I think it's just because
Wow.
he wigged people out. So they're like, just take it, get it out of here. It weighs a ton because it's all like in heavy,
Oh, I'll bet.
glass, right? And I was like, okay, that's fine. It was like one of the first haunted pieces I got. And he sat on the desk next to me for ages. I was like, let's see if what this thing's going to do. Because I couldn't pick anything up out of it. Never bloody did anything. So I'm like, okay. I says, are you sure you don't want it back? We can work out, make sure the energy
Yeah.
is like, nope,
Yeah.
we're fine. We're fine. There's sometimes people just don't jive with the piece
Exactly.
or vice versa. Never had a problem with
Yeah.
it, never moved, never did a thing, just,
Wow.
nicknamed him Jeffy. He had a baseball cap on for a while, and I was doing my work, and
Oh, that's
I'd
funny.
I'd, I'd be researching and like, so Jeffy, it's just like, so now we just moved him to the back because it was just getting a little serious at my
Yeah, he
conversing.
stands out back there too. He's
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
spotlight a lot.
She
So
is.
Heidi said she had an experience. She was absolutely awake and she saw a tunnel over her and blue water bubbles going up. So she figured she was descending. Then she said, I tried to touch the bubbles, so I was able to move, but I didn't feel. I'm looking for the rest of that. I don't know.
Mm,
You'll have to repost that because it kind of got lost in the comments, but I've
mm.
never heard of that. Did you see a shadow person or was that just sleep paralysis? Maybe that was sleep paralysis she was talking about there.
There are people who have had sleep paralysis who have reported seeing shadows moving around them. There
Yeah,
there are there are there are things in the unseen world. Not everything is meant to be seen. But every now
exactly.
and then they creep through.
They creep in. Yeah,
Maybe do the dimensions meld? Is that what's happening? Do we cross over? I believe people, very gifted people, can see dimensionally. I've known people who have done it.
yeah. And it's so trippy now too because with quantum AI, they're claiming that they can, and I'm sure you've heard all about that,
Mm.
that they can travel dimensionally and get answers and like pull answers from future dimensions, which is just mind blowing to think about.
It's mind blowing. There's a lot of things about AI that are scary. I
Mhm.
don't like that they have
Yeah,
AI now for the grieving, where you can actually create your loved one to keep that sort of going, to deal with your
yeah. We
grief.
talked about those
We
grief bots before. Those things
did.
are terrible.
Yeah, they're
They're
scary.
terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, they're scary. I mean, I had a guest on who had an experience, creating like a Snapchat.
Yeah,
And and again, my guest Iris spoke about this as well. And what's scary about it is because it's a way of infiltrating. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a AI is going to do amazing things for people, the
yeah,
remote parts, medically speaking, and figure things out. Kudos, but it's also a way when you factor in that there are beings out there that can manipulate electronics, come through communication devices very easy, even like an answering machine, like a voice recorder. AI is going to be nothing for these things. Nothing.
I know. I agree. I
The one
agree.
guest that I had on found out, things were happening, and it became such a heavy, oppressed feeling. It's like he
Yeah,
said, he goes, it just wasn't worth the effort of fighting back. I'm just like, oh, so that right there tells you something
yeah.
infiltrated that very
Absolutely.
easily. It's easy for
I've
them.
also heard of people that have cremated their loved ones and keep them at home,
Mm,
and then they get a lot of paranormal activity, whether it's shadow people or poltergeisty stuff,
hmm,
and that kinda creeped me out because after my husband passed away, he wanted to be cremated, he insisted, so I bought him a beautiful wooden urn,
mhm,
and I have it in the room sitting
mhm,
next to me, and I often think like, is that okay to do? I mean, he's
mm.
home, he's in his home, so I'm thinking it's okay, but then am I violating any spiritual laws doing that or something? I don't know, it trips me out.
I don't know. I have ashes, I have bones. I have really old skulls. I have a medieval skull that I got from a collection,
Wow.
1425. I've got, Jeffy doesn't do anything. It's like,
No,
I have ashes, family members, things like that. You have to understand, I think if somebody realizes they've passed on, the physical doesn't make a darn difference.
that's what I think
Yeah,
too.
ashes to
And then you
ashes.
hear these stories and you read these things and then it starts playing on your I mean,
Yeah,
I go in there and talk to him,
yeah,
most every day and,
yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
creep me out in that sense, but I just wanna make sure I'm not, like, violating
There's no
anything
violation. There's
sacred.
no violation. I mean, there's people who you look at, the Day of the Dead in certain parts of the world where they go and they'll dig up their loved one, bring him back, sit him at the table, and have like the physical is the physical. If you are aware that you've passed on, the essence is gone. This is
Right.
something I think a lot of people, um, you know, from stuff that I've researched and read, from through different shows that I've done and articles I've contributed to, um, where they don't even go the traditional way of burial anymore because it's like, why am I putting somebody in a wall? Why am I
Mhm.
going to a cemetery? The essence isn't there. I can talk to them at home, or they'll go someplace that
Exactly.
was special to the two of them, or to their family member or their loved one. And it goes, I can go sit by the water and have a conversation and feel that presence.
Absolutely.
So people are realizing that they don't have to go to this place that brings so much heaviness because they need that place to focus on.
Yeah, it's always more for us than it is for them, I think. I
Mhm.
believe that to be true. Wayne said, "A colleague of mine brought these ashes of a father home and sat the urn on the mantle. The family cat sat in front of the mantle and growled at it for the first day, but after that, never left the spot. She had to take the ashes away and the cat returned to normal." See, and that's, how do
Yeah,
animals know that? Do you think they're just
they're very
smelling it?
intuitive.
Maybe their senses are so
There's some animals that can sense when there's something wrong with people. I mean, you have
oh,
you have
absolutely.
service
Cancers.
animals who can sense cancer, who can sense
Yeah,
seizures. Was it growling at the ashes, or maybe the spirit was around just visiting? Is like, stranger danger, or just, hey,
true,
get out of my
true.
space. You're not
Yeah,
supposed to be here, or you don't know what it attracts. Maybe there's just an
exactly.
odor. You would think that ashes wouldn't, but maybe there was something with the urn. Maybe like how an animal doesn't forget the smell of the vet. It's not always a good
Right,
experience.
absolutely,
So I
absolutely,
don't
yeah.
know. I guess many reasons for why they behave the way they do, but cats especially are said. I've even heard people say no. They're like they just don't come from around. They're not from around here.
They're not from around
they're,
here.
they're not from around here. Yeah, that they're just a whole different species altogether. It's just like they're very tuned in, very smart. All animals are, but something about cats. They'll say if you want to keep ghosts away, get a cat.
Get a cat, yeah. Maybe that's why the Egyptians kinda worship them and
Revered them.
yeah,
Yes.
revere them. Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yep.
So how do you think I mean, you're an expert in the human energy field. I think you are anyway. You've had decades of
No,
work
no, not
doing
this
that.
good.
Bless you, bless you. Um, how do you think it's funny because, like, I always think of our energy field and I tie that to vibration because all energy vibrates. It look at
Mm,
the bells and the
yeah.
things you just had in front of you. The what do you call them again? Good lord.
Tuning forks?
Tuning forks.
Tuning forks?
Just
Yeah.
had a brain fart.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, everything vibrates, right? So we have this luminous field of energy that surrounds and kind of interpenetrates, I guess, the physical body, right?
Mhm.
It's believed to be like an integral part of like a person's existence. I mean, I think everybody can agree on that because there's a lot of things we
Mhm.
can't agree on, but I think we can agree on that, right? So,
Scientists
how do
call it a biofield.
biofield
Mhm.
exactly,
Mm.
exactly. So do you think that we all have the same biofield, or do you think that like gifted individuals, people that are psychic, Claire, all the Claires, we'll count all the Claires. Do you think their energy field is more intense, or do you think they just tap into it better or more effectively than other people do?
Well, let's look at auras, for
Mm,
example. Okay, it's described like as a luminous energy field. So it reflects people's emotional, spiritual state, things
mhm.
like that. So if you're looking at it that way, we all have different colors, which would basically suggest that our energy fields are all a little bit different. We
Mhm.
vibrate differently. Some people are very, very gifted. Some people think they're not and or just may not be. They just chose to not evolve
Right.
with their abilities. Some people are just natural at it, and they much as they wanted to stop it, just it intensifies, you know.
Mhm.
But um for myself, I can only speak for me,
Yeah,
or people that I have, worked with, either professionally or through helping them, um, in their situations as to why they contact me. I can see that certain situations evolve people, and I think we are here to evolve. I really do. Whether you call it awakening, waking up, whether you call it, expanding your consciousness, whatever the case may be, I
yeah.
do believe we're here to somehow evolve. And when you're doing energy work, going back, to myself, again, whether I'm doing shadow work or light work, I sense that that process of evolution every time you start working on it. And there are beings out there who will give you different things. They'll say, "No, do this time. Don't. It's not going to work this time." Instinctively, I just go, "No, this won't work this time," and I just wait and I instinctively know what to do. I think
Mhm.
it's part of that evolution.
Yeah.
And you find that you just start doing it better because you're putting out that energy. Like you can touch somebody and give them a very profound experience. That's energy projecting
Sure.
out. Psychokinesis, telekinesis. I mean, psychokinesis is like poltergeist. It is major projection of energy where it can create footsteps, doors opening and closing. Um, that's pretty remarkable. And I
Yeah.
think we need to remember, where we come from. We are literally these incredible energetic beings, beings of light, being of energy, having this human experience who are limited by the physical. So realistically, are you limited or you just don't know how to work with the vehicle?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. It's so interesting when I was in my like maybe 12, 13, I guess around puberty, I started seeing, and back then, nobody knew what an aura, I didn't know what an aura was. And and I would see these colors around people, and it wasn't like 10 feet off of them. It was maybe an inch or two away from their
Mhm,
from their body, I guess.
mm,
And I just thought everybody saw that. Like I never questioned it. And
mm,
then I saw that for years, and then as I got older, I stopped paying attention to it, and it just went away. And
mm,
then as I started getting more spiritual and reading more and really delving into spirituality, it started to, like, come back. I thought
mm,
that was the trippiest thing. But
mhm.
back in the day, if you talked about auras, they'd lock you up. They would, like, be like, "What in God's name are you
Ah,
talking
you
about?"
hippie. Yeah.
Hippie.
Yeah. Flower power, all
That's
that stuff.
exactly correct.
Yeah.
You old hippie, you.
Energy work. It's
Exact
bringing it all in.
right.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. No, it's true.
So
There
true.
there's there's a lot with that. I mean, you look at Buddhist
Yeah.
monks. There are Buddhist monks who have been able to get into such deep meditative states that, look at that one where the guy just sits up on the top of a mountain. Like,
Mm.
I mean, he was out there for how long? Like, what, years, decades, whatever the case may be, to the point where he brought himself so far down, they can levitate themselves and
I
or he would
know
just sit there
it's
and
crazy.
and he lived. Like the body stayed completely intact, but he just kind of shriveled down in like he was in a sleep state. I don't know. There's something you can elevate yourself and evolve
Absolutely.
yourself to do incredible, incredible things. And I think that most people, there are a lot of people out there who are really enlightened and really skilled that can do amazing things. I mean,
Yes.
people they can levitate themselves.
Yeah.
That's an energy field.
It's crazy. I mean, look at frogs. I think in Alaska,
Mhm.
it must be Alaska. They go into this frozen hibernation. Yeah, it is
Yeah,
Alaska. They
yeah.
go into this they stop breathing, their heartbeat stops, they're dead essentially. And as soon as summer comes and thaws, they come back to life. I mean, think about that. If a frog can do that, why can't
Crocodiles
we?
bury themselves in mud and water and go way
Yeah,
down for the whole season, the whole winter season. Like,
yeah.
it's insane. The I think we just need to remember that we come from something much, much bigger than what we see beyond the 4 walls.
Yeah.
There's a lot to that. And when you ground your energy, um, to show you again how you can control that, it makes it harder. People who I'll back up a minute. People who feel really scattered and hard to concentrate and hard to focus, when they ground their energy, they find it becomes easier for them to focus and to uh, get themselves in line. And it makes it harder for things, by the way, to attach. Not impossible, but it makes it harder for other energies to attach to you.
Mm. Yeah, Wayne said some fish do that too. I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Frozen solid and come out in the springtime. I mean,
Yeah.
it's incredible. So how do you think I guess it's intertwined with like layers and chakras, right? So many of the systems describe the human energy field as like a multi-layered thing. So
Like an
there's
onion?
yeah, exactly. So you've
Yeah.
got the etheric, the emotional, the mental, our
Mhm.
spiritual bodies. Um, and this, I guess, is all connected to like the vital force within us. How do you think chakras play into that? And I never really do much with chakra work except like maybe the third eye stuff I'll do when I'm meditating. Do you use your chakras? I'm sure you do. Like, give us an education on that.
Well, I wish I could. Like, because again, for myself, again, I know people who can tap into different chakras and do amazing things. I need to
Mhm.
introduce you to Bart, but who can do all these incredible things with different parts of the physical body, even with energy and quantum stuff. And um, it's fantastic. I just seem to, I don't have to concentrate on certain steps when I do energy work.
Mm,
I just instinctively know what to do with it. Where I pull that from is beyond me. I know that if I feel out of line somehow, if I feel off kilter, a little bit of meditation, I just close my eyes and I can just envision like a straight line going through the top of my head and just down
mhm.
to again grounding and just anchor my feet down into the ground. And I just sort of feel this instinctive, like everything just sort of
Wow.
straightens out for me.
Yeah.
So I don't go through traditional processes. I know I tried doing Reiki one time, and this is before I just learned how to line myself up. And
Mhm.
I went to, and this woman, she was an elderly woman at this point, and she basically learned everything she learned when she was in India. So she used a lot of really older Asian techniques, and she couldn't touch me. I'm all willing, ready to go for it. No, it was the weirdest experience I've ever had with it, and my whole body started doing this, and I
Oh,
could hear a "grrr," like a machine in my head, and she put her hands out. She goes, "I don't know what to do." She goes, "I just instinctively, I'm not supposed to touch you. I feel I'm not supposed to touch you." And I'm like, "Come on, this is ridiculous." So we took 2 weeks off. And I met she goes, "Just meditate on it because you should go," like, I protect my energy. She goes, "I feel
yeah, I
that
was
maybe
thinking
you're
that.
hanging on to it." I said, "Very possible."
Yeah,
So, you
yeah.
know? So I went in, and after I meditated on it before going to see her, and she was able to do it. So you see
Oh,
how we can control our energy fields, because when you do energy work, if you don't want anything fudging with that, I've had people say, "Oh, I'd love to, like tap into your energy and work with you," and I've always been told, "No, don't do it unless you really trust that person."
exactly. Yeah, you don't know what kind of shenanigans people are up
Well,
to.
you just don't know, I mean, we all have baggage, you just don't know, are they good at it? Are they not good at it? And
Exactly.
I've met people who have come to me because they feel off balance. And it goes, well, I went for a past life regression, and they brought me down. And one woman was suffering from migraines. I said, well, I'm not like, I don't know if I'm a healer. I don't specialize in healing at all. Like
Yeah.
first thing not my thing. Like I'm not versed enough in that. But she suffered from migraines after that, and I said, "Did he bring you out of it? Did he bring you back out of it slowly?" She goes,
Oh.
"No."
Oh,
And she goes, "My
gee.
energy has never been the same. I've never felt right." And I remember being like a talking head on a certain, a different TV show that I did. It was the same thing. Another woman came on there, and she said, I had done ayahuasca, and I was, you know,
Mm,
brought into this or that. Thing is, like, to properly do ayahuasca, there are places where you go 2 weeks in ahead, and they will work with you and train you as to what you have to do. It's not just show up for the weekend, "Let's do this," because not
sure.
everybody has a good experience.
Yeah, I've
So,
heard that too.
yeah.
What did Wayne say here? My sister was in Peru and invited to see a medicine woman.
Mhm,
The woman asked her assistant to hold my sis upside down. What? The
mhm.
woman, I guess that, torched her, touched her
Touch
neck,
your neck, yeah.
and told her to go home and get her neck looked at.
And the bottom is, yeah, the bottom one said she had throat cancer.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
She had throat cancer. Think, oh my
And what I was
good.
gonna say is there is a place in Peru where there's a 2-year waiting list, at least at the time, to do this ayahuasca, and you spend 2 weeks, and the shaman work with you to prepare you for that one day where you're gonna go in there and do this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've interviewed a
So
few people that have done ayahuasca, and I
mhm,
wouldn't risk it. Have you ever,
yeah.
if you don't mind me asking, have you ever done ayahuasca, like, or would you ever do it? Yeah, I wouldn't either.
I don't know enough about it. I think
Yeah,
if you are, this place might be the place, because they do spend a couple of weeks preparing you and training you and
yeah.
getting you to, you learn how to properly meditate. It's an educational process. But I think there are places out there that say, yeah, we can do this with you. It's like there's a lot to be very cautious of whenever you're
Absolutely.
giving anybody access to your energy, or when you're just
Gosh, that's
projecting
so
your
true.
energy out, taking substances that where you don't have control over your own head. I don't even like getting drunk, because if you just not be out of the question for me, because
Exactly.
I no longer have the
Control.
control that
Yeah.
I feel that I need, you know?
Absolutely agree with you. I'm a 1 glass of wine
Yeah,
person. That's it
yeah,
for me. I
yeah,
wanted to ask you too about hugs because I used to be the biggest hugger. Like because I was raised that like my family
yeah,
was that way. But I've come to learn not to do that so much over the decades. Like I could just meet someone for the first time and right away go in for a hug.
mhm,
Do you think that remember we talked about that elbow touching thing that you
mhm.
trade destinies?
Transferring, yeah.
Right. How do you feel about the hug? Do you think you're giving away your energy when you're hugging people?
I'm fortunate that I can pick up on energies, like, I think many of us can. You instinctively knows, like, "Oh, don't want to get too close to that person." I like
Yeah,
to hug. I do, I
absolutely.
like to hug, and I
Me
hug
too.
people. Yeah, I'm a hugger, but some people you just, you kinda get within, again, is it that energy field, and you feel like,
Right.
"Ooh, maybe not."
Yeah,
You know? But
yeah.
but but I think you would instinctively know that, and I think it's just a matter of, are you going to cross that? that boundary that you put out for yourself,
Yeah.
to do it and take the chance to be kind, because I don't like anybody feeling bad, so I'll just sort of take a few steps back, and I'm not a
Right.
hugger. You know, I don't do that. But, you
Exactly.
I think that there are ways, but if you put boundaries up like that, you need to be able to stick to them. You just don't know. But again, grounding helps for that too. So
Yeah.
you can still
Yeah.
hug if you're grounded. It just lessens, a lot of those
Yeah.
opportunities.
But I think you're so right. It depends on the person that you meet
Mhm.
because yeah, I think you need to be careful with that because you can't, it's like the elbow thing to me.
I
You're
know.
just giving, and it's so
I
weird
know.
because during the past like 5 years when we had that god awful thing happen to us, um, everybody was doing, remember the bump elbows or bump fists that,
Yeah,
instead of shaking hands.
yeah,
And I mean, it just seems so weird, like the interconnectedness of that was
yeah,
being propped up for us to do.
yeah.
You'd see politicians bumping fists and just now everybody's back to handshaking. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess they feel it's
others,
okay.
yeah,
But even with the handshake, I think,
yeah.
you need to protect yourself and be careful. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know what? Energy is a real thing,
Yeah.
and sometimes things come into your space. So what do? You protect your space. Well, sometimes your
Exactly.
space is within that energy field, and sometimes that is a space that you need to protect. Don't
Yeah.
hand it out. Don't dole it out like it's a free for all. Believe
Exactly.
me, it's very precious.
Yeah. And then if you look at it from like a science perspective, scientific perspective, mainstream science generally considers the concept of like auras and paranormal senses as pseudoscience, right? They
Mhm,
think, oh, this is all just a pseudoscience. However, a lot of research is being done, like it's called heart math. There's a heart math institute, I believe,
mhm,
and they have confirmed that the heart generates its own electromagnetic fields. And I was just talking to one of my guests about this, that your heart has its own electromagnetic field, and that
mm,
extends up to several feet beyond the body. So, aside from our normal, I guess,
mhm.
biosphere, we have this
Yeah,
stronger, and it's even supposed to be stronger than the brain's field.
mhm.
I don't know. What do you think about that? Have
It's
the
all
heart
it's all
having.
about the heart, apparently. It's all about
Mm.
the heart, you know? So I I
Which you
I
never
do
heard
think so.
people talking about. It was always the brain or just your own biosphere. Now it's all heart stuff.
I think we're a machine. We
Yeah,
really are. We are a machine, and I think, the essence is the electricity that gets it going. Yeah, this is a really good
that's
comment.
such a great point.
It's true. It's
Carrie
true.
says, let's read it for folks that are listening. The Heart Math Institute says our heart projects 6 feet out. Notice that social distancing was 6 feet. Oh, yay. So
It's true.
true.
It's true. There are people out there who have access to a lot of information that we will never be made privy to. This is why I say do your homework, do your research, because a lot of it is hidden in plain sight. A lot of it has to
God,
be hidden
it's so
in
true.
plain sight, right? And this is exactly hidden in plain sight. This comment right here.
You want to read that?
Religious pictures. Jesus never pointed to his head, always the heart. Same with Mother Mary, always at the heart. Many of the
God,
saints, always at the
that
heart,
was
always at
Wayne.
the heart. Yeah.
Yeah. We have so
So
many sage people in the comments today. Thank you all.
yeah,
Love
but
it. Love
when
it.
you look at an energy field, again, being empathic, going
Mm,
into a space, and you read the room, meaning you're reading, the energy, and sometimes you gravitate towards some people. Like I've had people come up to me and just like, you know, I'm thinking I'm looking all mean and serious, and people are just like, "Oh yeah, this is beautiful energy," just gravitate to you. I'm like, but what about me being just mean looking and being in a mood and just let me my 6 foot of space,
yeah,
It's just like, but no, people will gravitate to certain people. And
absolutely.
I find the same. Sometimes you just meet people you just feel like you've known them forever. You like being in their space, and that's because you we're picking up on that. So that's like our psychic senses telling us it's okay to
Absolutely.
be okay within somebody's
Absolutely.
personal space. You feel
Right.
safe.
How about
Yeah.
when you go in a restaurant and it's empty,
Mhm.
and then 10, 15 minutes later, you turn around and there's 900 people there. There's a
All
theory
behind
about
you?
that.
Yeah.
There's a theory about that, that they sense your energy and they're pulled in, excuse me, into the restaurant.
Yeah.
And I've even read a story where this one restaurant owner noticed that every time this one customer came in, that so many people would follow. And he said, listen, you can eat here for free. Just
Yeah.
keep coming because you're
Yeah.
bringing the tribe in.
Yeah, exactly.
So true. Funny. What about energy vampires? I'm sure you've run into a boatload of those kind of people.
Mhm.
What's up with them?
It's
Are they
actually not
just
it's not hard
born
to
that
do.
way?
It's
Yeah.
not hard to do. I mean, as an energy worker, you can project energy, you can pull in energy, you can maneuver it, move it around. My grandfather always used to say, "We're energy movers." But, because
Mhm.
they didn't have the right terminology back then, right? Just but being able to manipulate the energy is part of energy work. And I think there are just people out there who do it without even realizing that they're pulling in energy, and it just gives them that extra little bit of an oomph that they need. They know they do feel, they
Mhm.
feel stronger, maybe they feel more awake, whatever the case may be. There are spirits that can do that. You go for a walk, when you come back, God, I just feel so much more tired than normal. Or maybe you were just out at something that should have been relaxing, but you come back because there's a group of people and you're just like, oh my God, I need a nap. There are people who can just draw from you that way. And there are people who do it on purpose. Some people are very skilled in it.
Yes.
This is again
Yes.
grounding, very important grounding.
Yeah.
It works
Yeah, I think
wonders.
I'm convinced of that myself too. Um, I think there are some people that do it intentionally, and I think there are others that don't, like you said. And the ones that don't do it intentionally, I think are just such negative people. They're always, they can't drive a car without screaming at someone. They can't go in a store without complaining about something. And I think these types of people inadvertently pull energy out of other people, not meaning it, because they're losing all this energy and they're
Mhm.
trying to like replace it. Would you think?
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It is. I do believe that, any person can do it. There are some people who are very dramatic, who drain energy, and sometimes very gifted people, they don't realize it's not an intentional, I'm just gonna suck the life out of you. It just happens.
Yeah.
There are some people who could just be really they are just really happy. But in the same respect though, all that high energy burns
Mm,
off after a while. Right? So
yeah.
you have to draw it in. You have to draw it in. There are that's why I say hug a tree. Trees
Yeah.
often give of their energy, like there's a lot of ways that you can do it, but sometimes the easiest way is just from somebody else. It's not all gloom and doom, but there's a lot of that
Right.
as well.
Yeah. And I like it when like you're with someone and there's that give and take of energy. So like you're
Mhm.
kind of feeding off each other and, bouncing off each other. And that's always pleasant,
Well, some people
like,
say even through intimacy, be careful who you're intimate with because you're
right.
you're exchanging this energy. So be sure that the person you're with is actually somebody you really connect with because
Exactly.
that's you don't want to just be giving it up, to anyone. Like it really is precious. It's life
It
force.
really is. It is. It's life force. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And then I wanted to ask you about these interdimensional beings kind of, and it reminds me of our energy field as well, because you have like, it's almost like beyond the three spatial dimensions, like into 4D space. And then, like, the thing that stands out to be the most trippiest to me is I think it was Florida, and there was a report of these beings at this mall. If anybody remembers that story.
I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
called first they said it was kids with fireworks or some silly thing, and then you see like hundreds of literally over 100 squad cars pulling up, and then all of a sudden video starts to emerge,
Mhm.
stories coming out about this, that these beings in there were interdimensional. And it kind of blew over in a week, with some people kind of talking about it here and there, but it just amazes me how that story just like disappeared.
I had read I had read that cell phones were confiscated. Again, I read it, you can only believe half of what you read these days, if that,
Right.
but I had read that some people were having their cell phones taken. So
Yeah.
why would they do that unless it was something they didn't want you to see? But I had also seen a video clip with an interview of a man who was there with his family, and he said, "I'm old school." And he kinda held up his flip phone, and he goes, "And I had this old VHS video camera with me in a case and spotted these things," and he started to record them with this video camera. He goes, "Nobody wants these things," because I walked right out with the thing in the case. I put it back in the case, walked right out. Months and months had gone by because he had in turn sent that and
Yeah.
had it analyzed and said, "What is this?" And it's on tape. This is what I like about tape. You can't really fudge it until it goes to digital or computer. And he took the tape and he claims that it's in safekeeping somewhere, probably, safe, whatever. He said, no access. But he had it converted and the thing went viral.
Wow.
And it does look like it's something that's a little bit interdimensional, at least. It
Yeah.
looks like it's something. It's something.
It's
Because
something for
because
sure.
nobody wants to confiscate an old flip phone, but and it goes, nobody wants to touch a big crazy looking VHS. Those
Exactly.
camcorders back in the day were like this big,
Oh, yeah.
and yeah, so that got out because it was never confiscated. So
Gee.
again, that's apparently a
You
thing. I've
never know.
watched some of the
Yeah.
TikTok stuff on it, that because people were just sending this stuff to me. I was like, so there we go.
That's trippy stuff.
Yeah.
And now you've got congressional hearings with Anna Paulina Luna. I think that's her name. That's some name. And she's talking about interdimensional beings. The whistleblowers are talking about these interdimensional beings. It seems to be like just the buzzword. Michelle, my alarm just tripped. Can I step away for like 2 seconds?
Absolutely. I'll go to the
I'll be
chat
back in.
room.
I'll be back
Yeah.
in. I got to see what it is. I'll be
Yeah.
back
Go,
in two
go
seconds.
crazy. Go crazy. Okay, people. Good thing I'm a host as well, right? So, okay. So let's get into I'll go with some of the comments. Wayne says, I used to say if I was any more negative, I'd be an electron. And you're still recovering from that place in your life. Evolution for sure. And I love that. Hug a tree. I often hug the maple trees in the yard. Yes, exactly. Patsy, also a tree. Oh, there's a crazy tree hugger guy. Okay. Yes, he does it too. I've seen it. Constantly touch the cedar trees that make up the hedge around the property, telling them they look great and I love them. I think it's important. Do you remember there was an experiment that took place at one point, and magic, and they were at a high school, and they took two plants, and they put one plant in one space and another plant in the other space. And the experiment
Mhm.
was to be kind to the one plant and be belligerent and negative and hateful
Ah,
to the second plant. The plant that had the kindness thrived and thrived and thrived,
mhm.
and the other plant was wilting and dying. That's energy field as well, right? Hey, bubbly. So that's also an energy field.
Yeah.
And see
And
how
it's
our
true.
words and our energy affects the
Absolutely.
things around us.
Well, you're
So,
talking about the water. What's that physicist's
yeah, with
name?
water intention, and
Yeah.
and then you
Yeah.
freeze it and you see the difference that it does.
Imagery. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's crazy stuff.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, I absolutely believe in that.
Mhm.
The thing that trips me out is all this talk of these. It always used to be UAP,
Yeah.
UFO, or ETs, and now the dialogue has just shifted to these interdimensional beings. So I'm like, do they know something we don't know, and they're trying to like ease it out there, Is this a false
Mm.
flag thing? Like, why are these whistleblowers using this verbiage?
Let's
I don't
look
know. I'm
let's look at whistleblowers for a moment. I say
mm,
kudos, and there are people who risk their lives and will come out and say things. And there are people who are in different levels of governments or, three-letter institutions sort of
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
companies, groups, whatever the case may be, and you just don't walk away from an organization like that and start whistleblowing all of this stuff.
Absolutely.
So if that's the case, how are they still walking? Or are they told, here's the things you can tell. These are things you
Yeah.
can talk about. There's a
That
lot.
makes
I mean, Project Bluebeam, there's a lot of stuff that is going to surface. This whole three-eye atlas thing is a bit of a concern. There are people who claim that they remote viewed it and there are things on it. There are
mm,
people that claim, nah, it's just a meteorite. There's also, there's also CERN, who allegedly, and we've talked about this,
oh,
okay, there are they've opened portals and they claim that they bring through interdimensional beings.
yeah.
And that three-eye atlas is one example of this. So I don't know. I mean, you talk to somebody who is more, um, you know, who is more along the lines of studying or researching just that. There's a lot
Mhm.
of hypothesis around that right now. It's really hard to
Oh my
say,
goodness.
you know.
When we had a Maui Maua, a Moa Moa, however you
Yeah,
say
yeah,
that,
yeah. It's been
um,
there forever, just in this like this sleep state, right? As they say.
exactly, but there wasn't all this alien ship talk, like,
Yeah.
I heard you talked about remote viewing. Someone said they remote viewed to Three Eye Atlas, and they saw 5,000 reptilian soldiers in stasis in
Oh,
stasis.
Mish, I don't think you wanna pick up. She says, "I wanna pick up."
Exactly,
No. Yeah. So,
exactly. Yeah,
but
I
no,
mean,
it's
that's what's going around now.
so, okay, so let's examine that. Is that something to
Yeah.
be frightened about? Some people have great experiences with reptilians, but,
Mm,
are they reptilians? Are they draconians? Are they, because the draconians were known to be very
yeah.
warmongering. Um, I don't know. It's a frightening experience any way you look at it,
Yeah,
for me.
yeah.
The unknown, mind you, tends to be very frightening. And I think that, humanity on an average, they say you start living life once you let go of the fear, but I think we've been conditioned to fear.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. What is it in the Bible? I think it's mentioned like 150 something times, "Do not fear," or some
Yeah.
form
Yeah.
of the "have no fear," something
Have
like
no
that.
fear. Yeah.
But yeah, that's all what we're told to be is in a constant state of fear all the
Mhm.
time, whether it's politics, science, religion, it could be they just wanna keep us that way. And
Mhm.
like you said, they feed off that energy, that
Yeah.
loosh, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, I
Yes.
mean, the Three Eye Atlas thing is crazy. Again, you've got the interdimensional beings. So, like, these beings coming in through portals. But
Yeah.
then why is this ship traveling? And then if you talk to like Dolly and Preston, they say ET doesn't travel that way.
Mhm.
So, what is this thing? So, I don't know. Avi Loeb, who's a very prestigious physicist, astronomer, whatever his title is,
Mhm. Mhm.
he's, kind of on the side of the fence that it very well could be some kind of ET, some kind of craft because of
Mhm.
the emissions. It's emitting light, it's emitting methane from the front of the ship or comet or asteroid, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's just an old clunker compared
Oh,
to what Dolly and Preston are saying. This three-eye atlas just a clunker trying to make its way through space. I don't know. Have they
yeah,
come to a time warp? Maybe they're still back in the dark ages of flight. I don't
that's what
know.
I
Like,
thought. Maybe they're from a
right?
planet that's
Yeah,
not as evolved.
I know. I mean, you know, I believe that there are some very advanced beings out there, and I'm sure that there are some that maybe not so much. But again, with
Right.
that being said, there's so much fear mongering going on. It's hard to know what you're supposed to take seriously.
That's so true. And then with AI, you have to question your own sense of reality and what's what you're looking at. Is it real? Is it not real? I mean, it's just all convoluted. Like I used to
Mhm.
look at a video of ETs, orbs, whatever, and
Yeah.
even 6, 7 years ago, and I rarely question the authenticity of it. I go, that looks really real, and you can kind of judge when something is photoshopped back then. Now it's so darn real that every video you see of ET or anything, you have to research it and see if it's, made by ET. You
Yeah.
have to.
Mhm.
Now, Wayne here says when angels ET descended to Earth, they said, "Fear not."
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
We're
guess
being
you
told
yeah.
not to be afraid.
Mhm. I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions there, and I think, it's a lot of speculation. Like you look at right now what's happening with Chris Bledsoe and the orbs.
Mhm.
It's incredible what he can do. He calls them, they do all kinds of crazy things. And
Yeah.
they've had people, go out and experience this with the family. And they believe that the Blessed Mother is going to come back with a message. And this is going to
Yep.
be, in the next, what is it, few weeks, few months, something along those lines. Other people believe that, no, it might not be what you think it is. Um, Again, there's hope, right? That battle, there's hope, and then there's that fear going, if
Right.
it's too good to be true, chances are it's not true.
Yeah.
And then you have the whole upside of things going, we're in those crazy times right now where, we all need something, we all need a miracle, or we all need this uplifting, and it's happening. So you have this on one hand, you have Three Eye Atlas on the other hand, and you have a whole lot of crazy in between.
Yeah. Gosh, that's so well said. It's so true too. I mean, and the
Yeah,
CERN connection, you
yeah.
can't deny. And what I read is they're building one. They have a projection date of like 2030, I think.
How
They're
funny that.
Yeah, isn't that a quinky dink? And it's
Yeah,
supposed to be twice the size or bigger of the
great.
CERN that's out in
Because
operation.
the
Yeah,
other one isn't menacing enough.
it isn't menacing enough.
Let's just have a bigger
That's so
menacing one.
true.
Yeah,
That's
great.
so true.
Yeah.
Gosh. Wayne says, "Well, since we're living on a flat Earth plane of existence." Oh God, Wayne, that you're
He's
hysterical.
playing. I know he's playing, but
Yeah.
but
Whatever you're seeing in the skies and beyond isn't even real. It's all prostate. What's that word? Oh,
projections by the
projections. He meant to
controllers.
say by
Yeah,
controllers.
to
Yeah.
see what the inmates do. Yeah, it's like being in the Truman Show. Yeah, it's really
It
hard
is
to
the
to
Truman
say.
Show.
There's a lot of hypotheses out there. You look at flat Earth, and it is interesting because there are certain places you can go to.
Yeah.
When you look at the map, it's flat, and they show you what happens in the land beyond the ice wall. And I just kinda look at it. There are days I kinda go,
I
"See, right
know.
there."
I know.
Right there.
So true. It's so true.
Yeah, so I don't know, but there's a lot of things that are going to be coming to light. There's a lot of information that's not even being hidden anymore. I think there's
Yeah.
so much information, it's information overload, and
Yeah,
people
it is.
just don't really know what to make sense of it, what's rhetoric, what's distraction, what's real, what's not real.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
there. We're there.
And it's so interesting too, because when you think about portals, right? And you think about in physics that unified theory of everything, and how when I'm not a physicist, so forgive me.
Mhm.
When you split a particle and you separate it, well, I guess kind of what they're doing at CERN, similar to it. Well, they're
Yeah.
looking for the God particle or found it maybe, or opening up portals for demons to have a party. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well, they do
um
sacrifices and rituals out in the front.
exactly, yeah. But supposedly whatever happens to one piece of that particle, wherever the other particle is, the same exact thing happens to it. So
Mm,
with these portals that these interdimensional beings traveling through, I
mm.
mean, somebody knows, Michelle. I think somebody knows. and they're just not.
You know somebody knows.
Yeah,
Like I said, this is what I was saying earlier. There's a lot of people out there who have the right information. You know, you have people at the
exactly.
Vatican who know because they have all the a lot of the you know, they have so many ancient texts and
Yeah,
information and artifacts, et cetera, et cetera. But there are also these certain families who were always, or for the most part, have been in a position where they could acquire things. And the private library is loaded with information. The mystery schools that go back, you
yeah,
know, hundreds or thousands of years. I mean, there's stuff in there. There's information in there that we the common folk are never going to be made privy to ever.
so true.
But they do have to, when things are done, they have to put it in plain sight. And it's a karmic thing. So we need to just start paying attention. And when sometimes because things have to be put in plain sight, then you see these really big distractions happening. So you're
Yes,
not really paying attention to what is actually going on for real because we're too enthralled with the distraction. And then some people just don't know the difference at all. When you see it, you can't unsee it. The technique is
exactly.
always the same. The pattern is always the same.
Yeah. Um, didn't Nathaniel say too that these orbs that Chris Bledsoe is seeing could be demonic? A lot of people are saying that they're fallen angels and they're not what we think they are.
And call them, you know, yeah, he works with researchers that call them the phenomenon. And they believe that there are these very dark
Yeah,
energies out there that are like the false prophets that are putting out, again, distraction. Is it something more malevolent that are just drawing in the herd, so to speak?
yeah, yeah,
Or is
yeah.
it something really incredible? You know, you can see you have the 3 variables, and it's just a matter of figuring out which one is it. Is this where your faith comes in handy, or is you have to lean on your common sense? You know, do you
Mm.
have to lean on your abilities? I mean, it's a mixed bag, you know? It's a mixed bag.
You know, and it's funny because a lot of people, like if you go on social media and you look at Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff, there's so many people that are just struggling with all of this because, like you said, there's too much information and they're trying to piece it together. And I say good luck to that because it's just so much. It's too
Mhm.
much. So I think maybe it's best to even take a step backward and not watch these things and get affected by this and just do your own spiritual work, your own grounding. Because I know it affects me when I'm, and especially when I'm doing research. Like after an hour, and you know this all too well, of reading and watching all these different video clips, your mind is just blown, and you get up and you just go, F it. And
It's
you
a
just want to get up and
it's a tough one. It's a
yeah,
tough one because information overload is a serious thing. It's a real
yeah.
thing, and it leads to a lot of stress, and I think that's why it's being done.
That's a good point.
So
So
I
it's
think
intentional.
take things in stride. I don't watch
Yeah.
a lot of television. I have certain things I like to watch. Documentaries are always my favorite,
Yeah.
because I do feel time is precious, and I do feel that it it should be put towards something that will be a benefit. But sometimes it's really kind of nice to just do something
Yeah.
that is a no-brainer, something you don't have to think about, that you can just look at it and laugh or go, "Ooh,
Shut
it's
it all down.
freaked me out," or whatever. Yeah, you know. But I remember seeing this meme where they had this Amish man. I said, "Well, how come you guys, you know, haven't you don't get sick?" And he goes, "Because we don't have television." But, you know, you know, you guys don't, you didn't get sick. You didn't, what about all of this? Like, you know, you
Yeah.
don't worry about things. And no, we don't have television. We don't worry. We're not fearful. We live our lives.
Makes so much sense.
Well, yeah, we know people who are, you know, who have, like, Mennonite family and the
Yeah.
same idea. They're just like, they're a lot more like, free spirited, let's say, like they will
Yeah.
let their family venture out and yeah, live your life, do whatever, you know, whereas you get some that are very, very stern. And it's like,
Yeah.
nope, that's it. You go, you're gone. And it's just like, there is no television, and they live, they're not affected as much by the outside world because they don't pay attention. They live in their
Yeah.
communities, and that's it. So there's something to be said for the constant barrage of information that is being thrown at us as a
Yeah.
people, as, earthlings. This is something that drives me crazy, is division, because
Oh, yeah.
I look at us as earthlings. We're the human race,
Right.
and it's the diversity that makes us all unique and part
Mhm.
of,
Yeah.
being incredible contributors to this planet, or at least it could, you know.
Maybe if we'd let go of some of our ego, because I think that's
Mhm,
largely to blame for a lot of what's going on. It's always the
mhm.
ego in the front
Yes.
controlling all of this, whether it's power, money, whatever
Mhm, mhm.
comes in the way.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I often wonder if and it's funny because 'cause I've interviewed some people who say that I don't think it's remote into the future, but they can somehow access it. And they say that the future's not really written in stone, that it's alterable. We can change the course, but
Manifestation.
yes, and they can see certain timelines of
Mhm,
it.
mhm.
And one of the timelines was where AI controlled everything. And that seemed like an absolute nightmare. And it's scary because we're so headed that way into digital ID and
Mhm. Yeah,
digital money, digital passport, everything. So,
so, if we can manifest our own realities, why are we all shifting to this one space? Why can't we shift
right.
ourselves out? There are a lot of people who believe that things shifted. Every time you get a Mandela effect, something has
Yeah,
shifted. So if that's the case, why
absolutely.
can't we all, as a collective, shift back to a positive consciousness, like a positive space?
That's such a
Why?
great point.
Right?
Why
Everybody,
can't
let's just
we?
put it out there.
Yeah, I'm serious. That's such a
Yeah,
great point.
yeah.
I mean, I would imagine that a lot of like energy workers like yourself are trying to do that, right?
Oh my god, I work with incredible people
Yeah.
to do just that, and there's definitely techniques to it. There's definitely techniques to it, but it's incredible. You see the changes when you do it. Like, you notice immediate changes,
Wow.
and there are people all over the world who do this. This isn't like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
specialized things, to me, by any means. I mean, there are people out there who do it a lot better than I do, and you evolve with it. It's an incredible to see it, but you have to look at yourself. Like, I have always I've always done energy work just on different levels. Now this is something that I enjoy doing, and you realize that you are a steward of the planet,
Mm,
and you have to keep her healthy,
right.
and there's a lot being done to it, and it affects us all. So it's just planetary stuff. It's ley lines, it's energy. It's
Absolutely.
everything that embodies it. It's even stuff up and over the planet. Like, there's a lot to it. But it is it's fascinating to do it, to
Yeah, and
witness
I
it.
think a lot of people get disheartened too because they see the chemtrails, they see the weather modification, they
Mm,
see how our water, earth, air, everything is being food
mm.
has been toxified by this certain group of people, right? So a lot of people, but on the flip side of that, a lot of people are waking up to it and they're not buying foods with GMOs and they're complaining to their senators and Congress people about the cloud seeding and things, chemtrails and stuff. So I think people are waking up to that as well and acting upon it. Um,
Healthy
and
living,
that's
healthy mindset, healthy consciousness. Put one
right,
positive thing out every day into the collective consciousness. If everybody just did that, just think about how many positive things would go out. Now think on the flip side.
right.
Okay, reverse that. There are people out
Yeah,
there who know how the collective consciousness works. okay, and you don't know that there's a quantum thing out there, even with AI pushing out negative stuff. It is a very strong possibility. You have to balance things out and tip it to the positive.
Yes.
But
But
a
I
lot of
also love how you talked about that you have to, like, walk within the darkness and the light.
Mhm,
Like, you and you
100%.
said you yeah, you've always done that, right? Maybe you
Mhm.
could talk about that for a minute.
Well, there has to be balance. This
Right.
is it's again, it's shadow work, it's light work. I spent a lot of time doing shadow stuff, and I've done a lot of time helping people because it's something I felt like I had to do. I did it, and sometimes it does come with a lot of risk. And the more you evolve yourself and you realize that there are things from beyond the veil that assist you, you're supposed to be doing it.
Mm.
You put aside your own fears, you put aside everything as long as you can keep things safe and you can keep those around you safe. If you have the
Mhm.
ability to do that, then you can help other people. Like there has to be that give. You don't get to just hoard that and not do anything with it. You just don't get to
Oh,
do
I
that.
like that.
You don't get to do that, and those who do, it's a real shame. It is
Mhm.
it is a shame because if we all, have certain abilities that we're aware of that we can put to use, I think we'd be in a very different place. And doing light work is just something that is counterbalances the other stuff, and it's just on a different scale. It's more on a universal scale, it's not so concentrated, it's just the planet. It's just all of those that are on it or within it, whether it's animals, whether it's extraterrestrials, like, there's so many beings that come
Mhm.
forward to assist. It is amazing. It really is. There's more out there than people think.
To assist when you're doing energy work, you mean, like
Yeah.
global energy work?
Mhm. Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's hopeful. That's, like, a very hopeful thing to hear.
It's all out there. It's all out
Mhm.
there. All you need to do is just allow yourself, educate yourself. It's not hard.
Is
It's just
is
skill.
that yeah, yeah, and I was just gonna ask you, is that something that you can teach and train other people to do, or do you think it's just innate? Like, if somebody is willing and they really wanna start doing energy work, is that something that, like, you can create a class and teach someone?
I'm sure it is. I know there's a lot of incredible people out there who teach many amazing amazing things and skills and things like that can
Mhm.
teach you how to do anything, anywhere from remote viewing to having out of body
Yeah.
experiences, astral projection to just, there's nothing that can't be taught, I believe. I've had years, I mean, years of people asking me. I've been offered money to teach people.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I'm just like, no, no, I'm not, for me, no, that
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to do things like that. It's just something I feel within myself. And, I have, taken the occasional person and people like even like with some of my team, I've been taught quite a bit, but not everybody is meant to learn everything. I never, ever, ever teach everything I know. I just don't. And not everybody can take certain things and do it responsibly. Sometimes it's too
Oh, that's a good
taxing.
point.
Sure. Sometimes it's very taxing and it can be very heavy, for other people. And you just have to, sometimes you can do it for a while. Sometimes you don't do it at all. Sometimes you can do it for ages. Like everybody is different. And the skill set and tolerance and resilience, we're all different. We all have different callings. I know what my calling is, and I'm shown how to do things. It's not just like off the top of my head, okay, here's my
Right.
plan. Here's my plan. I've had other people that I've worked with say, God, like that was quick. I'm just like, I just don't go through the same steps. I just instinctively know what I'm supposed to do and I just do it. It's not a planned thing. And other
Mhm.
times you could go into a spot and be completely blank and go, "Pff, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with
Yeah,
this.
right,
Let me take a guess." It is
right.
like that. There is no perfection in it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just instinct.
And that makes so much sense too. I mean, it just depends on the situation, where you're at,
The
who you're
person.
doing the energy, the person. Absolutely.
I believe that if you we're all we all share space. We all share space on this planet. And I think that it's not hard to tap into it. I believe we're all part of it
Yes.
somehow. We're part of this universe, and some of us just don't realize it, but others do realize it. And I think that if anybody really wanted to do it, it's a simple thing. Like I said, just do something kind for somebody. Plant a garden,
Right.
go and clean something up. Like do your part in
That's
taking
energy
care of
work,
your
right?
space. It
Yeah.
is. You're putting out your intention, putting out good intentions every single day. Put it into the collective consciousness. You want to see how fast you would see energy on a wide scale take hold, and you would see incredible things start to happen. It would unfold faster than you think.
Well, hopefully conversations like this helps propagate that. So, and one person hears it and tells somebody else, and you know how it goes. It's like the
We
butterfly effect, right?
we 100%. We all falter. Okay, you should see me behind the wheel of a car. Just, and then I'll turn around and go, "Love and light." I just push it out to you, love and light. So I'll have my
That's
little
funny.
moment and I'll love and light you as I drive by.
Right,
But
right,
it's
right.
just, we all spew the crazy, and we all some are much more diligent than others, and you all find your place. Some people find it
Yeah.
within their faith. Some people find it through tragedy. Other people find it just through love and through there's so many when you talk about portals, you yourself are a portal, and you can bring in
Absolutely.
incredible things, you could project out incredible things, and you need to realize that we are all something very special. We are all part of the creator. We're all part of something magnificent, and we all came here with the ability to do anything, especially when it comes to energy. But
Yeah.
we were also made to forget who we are and where we
And that's
come
so
from.
darn sad.
And that is where people go, "Well, I don't know how to
Yeah.
do that." Yes, yes, you do. You
Right.
do. You just need to remember.
Right. It's in the remembering.
You live in a physical place. They don't want everybody being enlightened and
Right.
doing things that maybe may contradict certain things. And that's what you see when you're out there and you do energy work. You see where those pockets are.
Mm. Oh, I love ending on that note too, Michelle. That was so beautifully said. Thank you so much. Do you want to talk about you've got exciting shows coming up? You want to talk about them?
Well, yeah. I mean, tonight, guys, out on the
Yep.
outer realm, of course, Wayne and I are going to be talking about the ancient. Again, we're picking up where we left off with Daryl Walsh last week, but we're picking up delving a bit deeper into ancient traditions and history and folklore of Halloween and how it has evolved into the modern time. So it's an open discussion. It's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully, you guys will be able to join us. And tomorrow night, Spirit Switchboard, Carolann Shellhorn, UPRN Halloween party from
Yay,
6 p.m.
fun.
until who knows.
God knows. It's my son's birthday tomorrow too, but I'm going to definitely pop in.
Yeah, people are going to be the hosts are going to be popping in and out. So if you for all of our,
Yeah.
our UPRN followers and such, people enjoy the show. Get to know the hosts that maybe how you haven't seen. Come on, but it'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, definitely on a fun. And if I might say, tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I have Mike Wilkerson back. And I was so thrilled to be able to get him back this soon because we had a conversation almost to be maybe 2 weeks ago that was just mind blowing to me. And I never got to follow up and ask him because he did this whole huge presentation. So we're going to be talking about colossal fossils, petrified giants, lost history, and the great historical cover up. So it's going to be live.
It's gonna be
You will
amazing.
not want to miss. That's going to be a good one. I love Mike. He's such a genius. Such a genius. Anyway, thank you, Michelle.
Pleasure.
Oh,
Thank
I
you.
love you dearly. I love you dearly. And you
Right
have
back at
so
you.
many people that love you as well. Our goddess of the network.
Stop it.
I know you hate that, but I had to do it because you are. You are,
Thank
and
you.
we're proud. We're
Thank
proud of
you.
it.
I love to take care of you all.
Yes,
Keep
absolutely.
everything running
Absolutely.
smooth, here we all are. So,
Yes,
thank you.
exactly. And
Thank
thanks
you.
everyone in the chat so very much. I was trying to catch a lot of your comments and they were just brilliant. Thank you all for participating. We love seeing you. And thank you, Wayne, for cracking me up as usual. Hysterical. Oh my goodness, look at that. We made it right to the almost the wire. When I talk to you, it feels like 5 minutes, Michelle.
I know, isn't it fun?
It just
I
flies.
always have a good time with
It
you.
is.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you again so much, Michelle. Love you dearly.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And thank you everyone in the chat. I really mean it. Thank you so very much. Please, if you can, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, that just kind of helps boost the ranking a little bit so that people can actually see this. It would be brilliant. Thank you. God bless everyone. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.